The year was 1938. I mean, think back to 1938. We were just in the middle of one of the greatest depressions in American history, while war was looming on the horizon in Europe. In 1938, DC created a comic book character that was faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and able to jump tall buildings in a single bound. That character was Superman. And if you'll remember, Superman stood for three very important things: truth, justice, and the American way. The year is 2020. Uncertainty looms on the horizon and potentially war. Yet, right now is the time for you to stand up and stand for something, because over the next 4 years, the world is going to be looking for your solutions to the problems you can solve. We're going to talk about that on today's show. I'm going to show you what happened over the last year, however painful that might be to even think about, and then show you what's going to happen over the next year to 4 years so that you can jump through that window of opportunity and change the world. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? Welcome to the show. My name is Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. This is our last show for 2020. And you know what? This is our 111th. I think it's 111. Let me check the actual numbers, because I think I did the math right on this. 111, the 111th show, and our last show for 2020, certainly not our last show altogether. And in this show, I'm going to be taking you into 2020 and showing you what happened over the last year in a year in review. And then what we're going to do together is put our future goggles on. I'm going to show you what's going to happen in 2021 with near 100% precision, and then show you exactly what you can do about it. Because I'm here to tell you that I've never seen a time with more opportunity on the horizon. Never seen a time where you as a thought leader can get your message out into the world. I've never seen a time where people are more hungry for what's true. I'm going to talk about why that was so important, what shifted in 2020 that gave you a massive advantage in the marketplace. Before I do that, let me just remind you that we're here on YouTube Live, also on Facebook Live, which means you can say hello. So if you're on YouTube, jump in on the right-hand side, tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do. If you're on Facebook, do that below. I'd love to say hello to you in chat. For this show is our 2020 year in review. And again, as a little outline, basically what I'm going to do is show you what happened. Some of the things that happened you may have even been unaware of, and I'm going to show you how to leverage those, how to jump through the hoops of opportunity to take massive advantage of that in the marketplace for you as well. And by the way, for those of you who are already signed up for my 2021 Accelerator Fast Start program, we're actually going to start the training right after the show today at 11. You should have gotten a link on Zoom, a Zoom link right at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. We're going to jump on Zoom, and we're going to do an hour together on the core foundation of 2021, how to really kick off the year with a bang. If you're not signed up, now's the time to do it. The website's edrush.com/2021. And when you use coupon code 2021, you're going to get $100 off our already discounted training. It makes it $197 and a no-brainer. That, by the way, is on January 6th, a full day starting at 11, going all the way into the early evening. I've got actually some guest speakers that are going to be coming in. It's going to be awesome. But we're going to start fast and do a little hour session today right after the show, and that link is right below. Okay, we'd like to say hello to some of our friends. What's up, Robert? Good to see you. Robert says he's in a drive-up for COVID-19 test. All right, brother. Hopefully everything's great. And if you want it to not be great so that you don't have to get in the list to not travel or whatever, then I hope that works out for you too. What's up, Linda? Good to see you as well. Hey, Carlin, good to see you. Welcome back to the show. Hi, Delisa. Thank you for that link. I appreciate it. What's up, Roy? Good to see you as well. Thank you, Roy. I'm going to be talking quite a bit about what I shared in the weekly flight brief, so thank you for sharing that as well. I went a little off. For those of you who are not signed up for my weekly flight brief, The place to do that, by the way, is edrush.com, which is the website below. I send an email out every week, or just about every week, called the Weekly Flight Brief, which you can get and subscribe to. Hello, Rick. Good to see you as well. Awesome email that I got from you this morning, so thank you, buddy. Hello, George Tolles. George, I am just studying to be the man. So thank you for your awesome introduction today as well, my friend George. So let's get cranking on today's show. And I've got essentially 3 things to share with you in 3 separate categories. And I'm going to show you 2020, some of the behind the scenes stuff that happened in 2020. And then we're going to move into 2021. And you know what? The truth is, some amazing things happened in 2020. I know that sounds crazy. In fact, as we get into the new year, there's a lot of talk right now on social media about how people are so happy to be done with 2020. And I know 2020 was a hard year. It was for most of us who were confined to certain areas or had to wear a mask everywhere we went, or weren't able to visit family or travel. I mean, travel is like a big time pain in the neck right now. And I know that it was a difficult year, but 2020 also served as a massive accelerator for the change that was coming. So for example, I'm going to use just one example that's fairly obvious to see, which is the office space business. So for example, a year ago, there used to be these big high rises and malls where you could go rent a piece of office space. And for the most part, most of those office spaces right now, people are trying to get out of their leases. The only exception to that right now really is medical leasing, people who are going in to lease it for temporary or permanent medical space. But the truth is, like for example, I just did a week ago, a big live stream, or 2 weeks ago, a big live stream for over 300 financial advisors. These are people across the world who make their living by giving people financial advice, teaching them financial literacy, helping them insure themselves properly, and invest their money into the future. And for the most part, that business has been a knee-to-knee kind of business, like a little face-to-face kind of business. And you're familiar with those businesses. You meet with somebody, you take your sales materials and you present them, and then you talk them through the solutions to your problem. And if you had done this a year ago, if you had just said, hey, look, you should change everything and do all of it virtually, most financial advisors would have laughed. Oh, you don't understand. You don't understand my business. You see, it's really important for me to be one-on-one with the person so that we can really assess their needs. Well, look, March 2020 happened and everybody ended up on Zoom. And all of a sudden, people realized that they needed to be able to communicate effectively using the medium that we're on right now, and the entire world changed. Now, I'm here to tell you that if that didn't happen in 2020, it would have happened over the next 5 to 10 years. So by 2030, the market would have shifted so significantly that people would be on Zoom or a medium like Zoom communicating most of their one-on-one offerings. It's just the way things would have went anyway. 2020 just accelerated those things, okay? So I'm here to tell you that I know 2020 was hard and it felt painful, but you know what? Some of you have experienced this before. Did you ever try something new? Like, have you ever tried to learn the piano? You ever try to learn how to play the guitar? I play the guitar. I remember when I first learned, I couldn't even, my fingers hurt after 3 minutes of trying to play the guitar. Okay, now I can just go, Okay, did you ever try to learn I'm learning boxing right now. Oh my gosh, my shoulders are sore, my back's sore. There's people in this class that have been doing it for a year or two. They're not athletic, they're totally out of shape, but you know what? They're way better at this than me, because anytime you do something new, it's uncomfortable. Well, guess what? 2020 was just like boot camp. And boot camp for me was very uncomfortable. But you know what? By the time I got out of boot camp, I was a steely-eyed killing machine, okay? And so 2020 was nothing more than your business boot camp accelerating the changes that are going to happen, okay? So jump into chat. We're going to say hello to you. By the way, if you just joined me, my name is Ed Rush. This is the 2020 year in review. I'm going to be looking backwards, and then we're going to be going forward. But before we go into the business stuff, I'm going to lay the foundation for one of the most important things that changed, really that accelerated change in 2020. Because the first thing is 2020 was the year that truth went on vacation. Now, remember what I said about office buildings? Remember I said that was happening already and it was going to happen over the next 10 years, but 2020 just accelerated that change? Well, guess what? When it comes to truth and justice and the American way, our trust in institutional truth was already eroding. Okay, so it wasn't like it just disappeared in 2020. The truth is, it was already happening. In fact, that process actually began in 1972. It was in 1972 that the Watergate crisis hit America and hit the Nixon White House. Now, during that time, what happened was a fundamental distrust in the American institution of the presidency. Now, up until then, people had their opinions about the president of the United States, but there was this sacredness to the office that eroded in 1972. It was in 1972 that people began to wonder, are the things that I'm hearing from people the truth, or is it some sort of filtered version of the truth, or is it an outright lie? Well, it was 2020 that sealed the deal when it came to the idea of truth. Now, I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard and I'm going to show you how that truth was eroded actually in three main areas. And then I'm going to go into the 11 things that I learned in 2020, which some of you who read my email saw. These are just kind of fun things to just kind of think about when it processes your world. Okay, now, the first place where truth began to be eroded was at the governmental or the leadership level. The second place truth began to become eroded was at the news level. And the third place that truth began to be eroded was in the science level. Now, in a moment, I'm going to say something that sounds very distrusting of science. And the moment that I go into this world, there is a tendency for certain people to get very upset, okay? There is a crowd of people who are like, you have to trust science. You just have to trust science, okay? My encouragement to you, if you're in the implicitly trusting science crowd, is to just look into what science is in the first place. Science is nothing more than the process of hypothesis, experimentation to prove a hypothesis, okay? So for example, in 1995, there was a drug that was only used at the time primarily for cancer patients. It was a drug called Oxycontin. Perhaps you're familiar with that particular pain management drug. In 1995, a group of 150 elderly people went through a test. Only 68 of them made it through the test. And at the end of the test, 82% of them had some form of adverse reaction or symptom to that particular drug. Now, even after 82% of those people had a symptomatic or adverse response to that particular drug, the drug manufacturer at the time decided to say that that drug was safe and effective. And for those of you who understand the history of that drug was actually the foundational drug for the current opioid crisis that we have right now. And just so you know, I have been affected by that. I lost a brother 3 years ago, almost a little over 3 years ago, to a opioid addiction that started with that particular drug in pain relief after a sports industry. So this hits home for me. Now, it was science, or should I put science in quotation marks, that said that particular drug was safe and effective. So if you're a person who loves science like I do, you would go back and say, what lessons could we learn from that particular incident? Well, it just so happens that the founder and maker of the drug went on to become a billionaire. And you find out that people actually made a lot of money by using science in the wrong way. And so I would love to trust science. It's just that science keeps changing its mind. Okay, so listen, I love it. I love hypothesis and experimentation, and we have some amazing things because of science. I mean, I'm looking into this camera right now, this great Sony camera that was designed because of science, because of electrons moving together. Okay, so I love it, but what happened in 2020 is the world eroded its confidence in these three institutions. Now, when you erode institutional belief, when you erode institutional truth, you end up with a very unstable society that's not sure what to believe. So let me give you an example. On Christmas Day, I don't know if you've been watching the news. If you have, you know that on Christmas Day, a man supposedly pulled an RV up to next to the AT&T hub in Nashville, Tennessee, and for an hour blasted a warning on loudspeakers that essentially an incendiary bomb was going to go off out of his RV. And then at 15 minutes before the bomb went off, there was a countdown from 15 minutes all the way down to 0, in which case supposedly the RV exploded and took out like an entire city block at the same time. Okay, now that headquarters, that AT&T headquarters, was also supposedly the place where AT&T won a contract to lead the investigation of the Dominion voting machines. It was supposedly the place where those voting machines actually came up, okay, for research into that place. Now, I don't know if any of what I just told you is true. I don't know if the bomb went off in the RV. I do know there was a countdown coming from the RV because they've got video recording showing that. I don't know anything about the AT&T thing or the Dominion voting machines. I'm only telling you what I've seen across the news. My point in telling you this story is 50 years ago, the average American would see the news story and go, it was an RV, there was a bomb, it went off, let's find out what the motive is, find out the motive, wrap the case up, and then we're done. In 2020, I don't care who you are or where you are on the political spectrum, in 2020, you hear the first part of the story and then you say, I wonder if that's really true. I mean, I wonder if there's more to that. I wonder if there's something deeper in this particular conversation, okay? All I'm simply here to tell you is that erosion in these things was near complete in 2020. Now, you may be wondering, Ed, wait a second, this is a business show, okay? You're teaching business stuff. What does this have to do with business? It has everything to do with business because this is the year where you can literally step into the place of authority that was vacated by these industries, okay? The government, current trust, okay, according to the most recent Gallup poll, current trust in Congress is less than 11%. That's across the board. That's less than 11%, right? Last poll before this previous one, the 70% of the people said they would take the vaccine. Previous to this, 50% of the people said that they would take a vaccine. The latest news story today, Marco Rubio, who just got his vaccination, then came out afterwards and said elites are trying to trick you into taking a vaccine, which I can't even figure out how those two things end up going together. So these three things eroded and opened up the door for you. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to jump into chat, say hello, and then I'm going to come back and give you the 11 things I learned about these three things. This is just a fun list, just playing around, okay? And then I'm going to get into my second point, which is really central for understanding what's going to happen in 2020. All right. When I got going, now I'm out of breath. All right, so what's up, Diana? Good to see you as well. I saw you. Great email from you this morning as well. What's up, Carlin? Indeed, Nixon did do that. What's up, Tony Reese, who had another little Reese this year? Congratulations on that. Well, I understand what you're saying, but that's why I said I got you. Hold on, I can't put that one in. Thank you for that comment. What's up, Brian? If it's peer-reviewed, if it's biased, and here's the thing, I'll go into the science thing in a second. Hey, what's up? Good to see you, Jerry. So that's why. So here's my this is my you said about, who is that? Who just said that? Stephen. Sorry about your brother. It was not science that said Oxy was safe. It was unethical marketers and managers. Okay, I agree with you. Because science, if you look at what science is hypothesis, prove your hypothesis, law, okay? And if you look at the scientific method, the 6 steps in the scientific method, that's where that goes. That's the reason why several shows ago, about 50 shows ago to be exact, I said there were actually 3 types of science, not 1 type of science. Type 1, science type 1, is all caps, exclamation point, science. This is science to prove a political agenda, okay? This is the kind of science that says, okay, we know what we want people to do, so let's find something that we can use to bash over their heads and prove that we're right and they're wrong, okay? So that's science with an exclamation point, okay? There's number 2. Number 2 science is lowercase science, but this would be in italics, okay? Lowercase science in italics is science designed to drive a monetary result, okay? So, for example, I don't know if the COVID vaccines are truly safe and effective. I don't think most Americans know if the vaccines are truly safe and effective. I don't know enough about the vaccine science to tell you whether they are safe and effective. What I can tell you is that we do have a history with drug companies who have a profit motive saying something is safe and effective when it's not, okay? So in 95, that company, Purdue, said something was safe and effective, and they actually went on record and said it wasn't addictive. The great thing is it's not addictive at all. And they used lowercase italicized science to be able to say it, okay? Number 3 kind of science is just spelled science. And this is scientific method, 6-step, okay, science, where as soon as we learn something, as soon as we find something out, a great scientist, you know what they do? They try to prove it wrong. They try to prove it wrong. They go, you know what? We just found out this great thing. Let's see if we can prove it wrong. 50% of the statistics are right 100% of the time. It's true. Okay. So anyway, call me a skeptic, but anyway. All right. So it's going to open up an opportunity for you. This is where I was going to go with this. All right. So before I jump into this, let me just tell you the 11 things that I learned in 2020. And as I tell you these 11 things, if any of these disagree with your political opinion, then just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Okay. And if you want to know, some of you have been following me for years. I'm not a Republican, okay? And I'm not a Democrat. So I'm not even in the middle. I'm someplace way off into the 3D sphere. I'm not on the right or the left. I'm in the world. I'm a human, okay? I'm an American, okay? And a lot of us are moving in this direction, just so you know. All right. So 11 things I learned in 2020. Number 1, if the media says something is a big deal, it's not. Number 2, if the media says something isn't a big deal, it is. By the way, this goes to this whole trust factor. Okay, the media is lying for a living. And look, I'm not just talking about the left and the right. I'm talking about everybody. Okay, if you understand how the media operates, here's how the media makes money right now. You want to know how the media makes money? Somebody clicking on something. When somebody clicks on something, they get more clicks for their impressions, and they can charge more for their advertising space. So what drives clicks? The truth or salacious headlines? You answer that question, you can understand the media. Number 3, data is an opinion. By the way, if you've ever studied debate, you will understand how useless sometimes data is, especially when confronted with somebody else's data. Number 4, independent fact checker is an oxymoron. Number 5, if something is debunked, it's not. By the way, I heard this initially when COVID hit, like back in March. I started hearing all these things that were debunked. As soon as I started hearing them debunked, I'm like, I have to look into that because it's probably true. Sorry. Things called baseless aren't. Same with things that are unfounded or unproven. Whatever comes after the phrase scientific consensus is usually just made up. I'm sorry. I just love this one. I'm sorry. When I wrote these, I personally laughed. Whatever comes after the phrase scientific consensus is usually just made up. And people get upset at me about this one all the time, especially on social media. People always get upset, and I say, let's have this. I'm happy to have the conversation. But first, let's start with what a scientist is. Is a scientist someone who has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctorate? And then when they answer that, I ask them what field, okay? Then I ask them what consensus is, 50%, 75%, 90%. And what you find, by the way, when you ask those questions, I got some more questions that come after that. When you ask those questions, is most people don't even know when they say scientific consensus, they don't even know what scientific consensus is, okay? Because I certainly don't. This one I like too. Anyone who tells you we're all in this together isn't in this with you together. Okay, I'm sorry I'm laughing. I know this is a serious topic. Number 9, bombshell means nothing more than we just came back from commercial. I actually like that one too. Number 10, if something is dangerous to our democracy, it's probably the only thing holding it together. By the way, if you want a good YouTube research, go to YouTube after the show, not now, okay, and type in dangerous to our democracy, TV news. You will literally see hundreds of TV news reporters saying the exact same words, the exact same way. It'll blow your mind. Okay, number 11. Somebody says for your safety. It means you're about to lose something important. Okay? All right, so so now this is the part everybody's like, oh, Ed wants people to die. I don't want people to die, okay? I want people to live. I want people to really live, okay? All right, so if you just joined me, I lost half of the viewers, like, I'm out, and this is the part where YouTube cancels me. I get it. I understand that. Those of you just joined me, my name is Ed Rush. This is the 2020 Year in Review. Talking about what happened in 2020 and how you can take advantage of it. All right, look, hey, it's almost New Year. Let's have some fun together. Okay, so I gave you the bad news, right? The bad news was 2020 was the year that truth went on vacation. Now, let's get into the good news, because this is actually really important. What I'm about to share, it's vitally important for you in your business right now. And by the way, some of you who just joined me are coming and joining me on Zoom in 35 minutes at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 Eastern. If you are signed up for my 2021 Fast Start, it's on January 6th. It's a one-day event. Starts at 11 o'clock Pacific. We're going to go for at least 5 hours. I've got 6 core areas I'm going to be teaching you. Mind control, marketing, time management, live streaming, social media, just to name a few, okay? I've got Michael Haig, my Hollywood storytelling coach, who's coming in to talk about how to connect stories in 2021. And by the time you leave, you're going to have a business plan for 2021, and you're going to have a lot of clarity. And I'm going to do a Fast Start session right here at 11, and if you're signed up, you're in, okay? And if you sign up now, you're going to get in too. So if you've been kind of thinking about it, look, here's the deal. It's $297, and when you use coupon code 2021, it makes it $197, which is like the ultimate no-brainer for a one-day training. Look, I've charged over $2,000 for my events, okay? So if you've ever been to any of my events, you know you're gonna get way more than $200 worth of value, and if you don't, ask for your money back and I'll give it back to you, okay? So we're gonna talk about how you can totally crush. I said there were 6 areas and I only named 4. Marketing, mind control, marketing, time management, persuasion, communication, which has changed a lot this year, by the way, live streaming and social media, okay? So that's number 1. Number 1 was 2020 was the year that truth went on a vacation. Number 2, in 2020, we learned that the message matters more than the method. Did you catch that? In 2020, we learned that the message matters more than the method. Now, to explain this, I'm actually going to go back about 10 years. There was this craze right around 2010, okay? And it was around this little piece of software called AdSense. If you're familiar with Google and the behind the scenes of Google, Google has 2 main advertising platforms. Google has AdWords and AdSense, okay? So AdWords is where you advertise on Google. And typically, there are a handful of different places that you can advertise on Google. One of them is on Google search itself. Another one is on YouTube. And another one is on what Google calls its search partners. So for example, let's say I took my website, edrush.com, and I put a piece of code into that website. And anytime someone clicked on one of the links inside the code, it would take them to another place that Google was getting advertising money for. So let's say I wrote a blog on effective time management, and right inside that little box, there was a little click that you could click and you could go find out more, but somebody was advertising using Google's advertising service. That's AdSense. So this Google AdWords is where you were advertising. Google AdSense is where you were getting paid for someone else, Google, advertising on your website. And so what we used to do is we used to take a little code and drop it right in the middle of the website, and that's where the ad sat up. Okay, so look, people were making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month using AdSense. What they were doing was they were creating these websites that had really great search engine optimization, and they would show up like first or second or third on Google, and then they would drop a little piece of code right into the middle of their website. That little piece of code would generate revenue because their website was getting so much money. But what happened in 2010 is Google started to figure it out, and Google said, wait a second, we're putting these pages on our website on Google at first place, second place, and third place. And then people are going to these pages and they're clicking on links, and then we're paying people because they were ranked high on our website. So Google said, we're not going to do that anymore. See, we're just going to keep the money, okay? And Google took all of those made for AdSense pages and wiped them off the face of the earth. And literally in an instant, literally overnight. People who had high paying, in certain cases, 7-figure businesses using Google AdSense, in an instant, they went to zero. In an instant. Now, these folks, I knew a lot of these people, by the way. These folks, good folks, by the way, okay, they weren't doing anything wrong. These folks right here, they screamed to high heaven. It is not fair what Google did. And at the time I said, well, it's perfectly fair. It's Google. Like it's their webpage. Like they can send people wherever they want. It's their page. The reason their business went to zero is because what they actually had, what they actually owned was nothing. They didn't own anything. You see, everything they earned was borrowed. And it was borrowed by an algorithmic software that they were taking advantage of. See, everything they had was borrowed because they didn't own anything. In 2020, what we discovered is that the message matters more than the method. Let me explain what I mean by this. Up until March of 2020, roughly 90% of my business revenue came in from live events and my events, which were also live, okay? Look, I'd done some streaming before. Not much. And I had done some day-long live streams, but look, most of my revenue came in from live events. So people would invite me to go speak. Many of you saw me first on someone else's stage. I would come in, I would speak for a day or two, I would offer something at the end of my presentation, and I would walk away with some new customers. Or what I would do typically twice a year, which I'm still planning on doing, by the way, is I would do my live events where I would go into my own event and I'd have 50, 100, 200, 300 people that were sitting in the event, and that was a big business generator for me. For example, some of you are my coaching members. Many of you became my coaching members because you came to an event. Now, in 2020, these went away. Boom, boom. I'm talking disappeared off the face of the earth. I have not done since I did an event in the middle of March in 2020. I was speaking in Dallas. It was right when everything was beginning to shut down. Got on an airplane in a very empty terminal, by the way, in Dallas. I flew home, and that was the last event, besides my own. I did a live event in June. That was the last event that I spoke at. Live event. I haven't gone to anyone else's stage. I've been on other people's virtual events, but I haven't been on anyone's live event. My live events went away in June. Hopefully they're going to come back. I don't know when. Probably not anytime soon, honestly. Okay? Those two things went away. Now, remember what I said about AdSense. If you have nothing, if you have only things that are borrowed, when the market changes, you end up with nothing. But if what you have is earned or owned, you have everything. Because when these went away, you know what happened? The world shifted completely and quickly to virtual. Everything went on Zoom. Like, you remember there was a website called Skype? Everything went on Zoom. And here's the interesting thing. Over the last 12 months, my revenue from the previous year, which actually wasn't even one of my best years, went up about 40%. Now, what? Oh, wait a second. 90% of my revenue was from live events and other people's live events and my live events. Move into March, no live events, income goes up. What? Now, by the way, a lot of my friends are professional speakers. That's what they do for a living. They get paid $7,000, $10,000, $15,000 to go speak, and that's it. Okay? They don't have a following. They don't have an email list. They don't have a social media following. They speak for a living. When speaking events went wiped off the face of the earth, a lot of those guys are like, that's fine, I'll just do all virtual events. Well, guess what? Companies aren't paying quite what they used to do for virtual events, and many of those businesses completely went away. Many of those speakers completely lost their business, but not me. Okay? And the reason why is because the message matters more than the method. AdSense was a method. Live events is a method. Zoom is a method. Those things aren't meaningless, but they're nearly meaningless in compared to having a message. Okay, so let me just explain what this is real quick, and then I'm going to jump into chat and say hello real quick, and then bring it to my third point. Okay, so there are 4 things to start with when it comes to your business. Okay, the first is the mission. Then there's the market. Write these down. Somebody write this in chat. Then there's the message. Then there's the method. Okay, also known as the media. So many of you have heard me teach this: market, message, media. Now, when I first started teaching this like 10 years ago, I taught 3 things: market, message, media. 3 things. What I realized after coaching like 462 plus one-on-one coaching members is the mission actually matters a lot. Because if you're not clear on your mission, and by the way, for those of you who are coming to this fast start session, I know I keep talking about it, but I keep talking about it because it's awesome. For those of you who are coming to the fast start session, the 2021 fast start, we're starting the fast start session in 20 minutes. Okay, for those of you who are coming to this session at 11 Pacific, we're going to start right here. Okay, we're going to get clear. This year, you're going to be clear on what you want. You're going to be very clear on what you are put on planet Earth to do. Because going into 2020, you're going to need that clarity to be able to execute the mission that God has for you, which is to attract a following to share your message and change the world. Okay, but to do that, you're going to be very clear on your mission, what you're here for. I'm going to take you through an exercise in about 20 minutes on this fast start training. I'm going to take you through an exercise to get you very clear on what you want. Now, for those of you who just joined me and you're like, what in the world is he talking about? The website below is edross.com/2021. The coupon code is 2021. It's a fast start to 2021 training I'm doing next Wednesday. It's next Wednesday, the 6th of January. We're going to start at 11 Pacific. We're going to go all the way to 5 o'clock roughly Pacific. It's going to be a one-day training. You're going to walk away with a business plan to dominate 2021. Okay? And when you enroll now, when you enroll before 11, when I start the Zoom call, my team's going to give you access to that training. All right? And I just saw Diana, you're in. Okay? So I just saw you. You're just going to get an email from my team that has the link to the training. All right, back to this. This is not moonshine, by the way. Only time I ever drank moonshine was at a NASCAR race in Atlanta. I'll tell you that story some other time. Okay, so after the mission, you start with the market. We don't have time to go deep on this. All it is who are they, where are they, what do they want? Okay, so you're getting clear on what they want. And then you take what they want and you turn it into a message. Now, this is what I'm centering on today. A great message connects directly to what someone wants. Most people market what people need. What you want to market is what people want, and then you should deliver what they want so that they get what they need. Does that make sense? Okay, so you should take your messaging and get it in front of somebody in a way that they can respond to. Let me give you an example. I have a business, a current business, where I have a training program for basketball referees. Some of you know this. If you don't, my dad was one of the most famous basketball referees in history. He was refereed in the NBA for like 32 years. Started with Wilt Chamberlain, went with like Larry Bird and Magic and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and by the time he was done, he was refereeing Kobe. Okay, so he spanned like Michael Jordan and all those years. Or my dad, when he got done, I said, hey, let's get together and put together a program where we can mentor and help basketball referees. And so I went out to these basketball referees and I said, now what do you really want? What the basketball referees told me is they said, Ed, there's this good old boy network, and because of the good old boy network, I can't get noticed. I can't get found. I can't get a better schedule. I can't move along in my career. And I asked my dad, I said, what do these guys need? And my dad said, well, they need to get in shape. They need to be on the court in the right position. They need to make calls correctly, and they need to manage the emotions of the game. Okay, those are 4 things. Shape, be in the right position on the court, make the call right, and manage the emotions of the game. There were 4 things. My referee said, but here's what I want. I want to get noticed. I want to get discovered. I want to get a better schedule. Those are the 3 things they said they want. My dad told me the 4 things they need. They told me the 3 things they want. You follow me on this? So when I went to market to them, I didn't say, you got to get in shape. You got to be in position. You got to that's what they need. Here's what I did. I said, I'm going to show you how to get noticed. I'm gonna show you how to get found. I'm gonna show you how to get a better schedule year after year, and then I guaranteed it. In other words, I gave them a marketing message about what they wanted, but guess what? When we delivered our product, when we delivered the product, we told them, here's how do you get in shape. Here's how you stand on the court. Here's how you make play calls. Here's how you manage the emotions of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, because when we did those 4 things, guess what they got? When they did the 4 things they need, they got what they wanted. They got noticed, they got a better schedule, they got found. All the things they wanted were delivered because of the things they needed. Now, most marketers turn that around, okay? What you want to market is what people want. What you want to deliver is what people need, okay? So you first market what people want, then you deliver what people need. Well, how do you find out what they want? You ask them, what do you want? What does that mean to you? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? You ask them, they tell you, and you market that. Now, here's the secret. The method could be you standing up on a stage in front of a live group of people. It could be you talking on Zoom. It could be you on social media. It could be on you on some new version of social media. There's a lot of those nowadays. Because remember I said distrust in the media, distrust in social media. Like for real, like when Twitter started censoring all of that stuff, people started leaving Twitter, right? When Netflix started showing 11-year-old girls in scantily clad outfits, a lot of people started leaving Netflix. That was because of distrust in those outlets, and rightfully so in certain cases. But those media outlets are down here, right? It doesn't matter if YouTube takes away your YouTube account. I mean this, by the way. It doesn't matter to me if YouTube takes away my YouTube account, because my following isn't here because they found me on YouTube and I'm the only place. My following follows me largely actually on my email list, okay? If all of a sudden Instagram or Facebook took my account away, shoot, it would probably be helpful in some cases for me, because then I could use them as a big enemy. You know, now I just use them as a little enemy, okay? Because the message is what's important. What are my messages? I'm gonna just give you my business. My message in a nutshell is I help people who have a message share their message so that they can change the world. I do that through a lot of the different courses that I have. For example, I have a course for consultants to help you make money sharing your ideas with businesses or with people so that you can make money giving advice. I have a course for speakers to help you get on stages or virtual stages. And by the way, I'm thinking about doing a course this spring on specifically for virtual speaking, because that's obviously here to stay. Everything from the studio all the way up to how to do the message, because it truly is different techniques when you're actually looking at the camera. Messages and different, okay? I help people be more persuasive, so I have a course on that. I help entrepreneurs be more productive. I have a course on productivity, right? So those are just a couple of examples of the way that I help well-rounded entrepreneurs become better, stronger, and faster. That message this year transitioned fairly quickly to Zoom. It transitioned fairly quickly to YouTube, and you're watching me right now, okay, right here on YouTube Live or Facebook Live, and you're watching not because of the method, you're watching because of the message, okay? So your job in 2021 is to nail this down. It's to nail it down in such a way that you could use a carrier pigeon or scrolling lights on the Goodyear blimp to get your message across, and people would want it so bad, they'd crawl over broken glass to come find you. That's how powerful your message needs to be, and it starts right here with what people want, okay? So, excuse me, I'm gonna get a sip of water, and I'm gonna say hello in chat real quick, hang on. Boom, boom. Thank you, Linda. I know you I just saw you signed up. You are in. And Delisa will send you the information for the Zoom call, and we're starting in about 10 minutes, okay? Market, message, method. Thank you, Tony Reese. I appreciate you, man. Brian Jones says, is your upcoming? Yes, thank you for that question. I go past this every time, and I should probably just say it. The full day is recorded. We're putting it into a membership site. So you're gonna have access to the entire training, and you're gonna have access to all the resources. If you can't make it live, that's okay. And if you can make it live, you can still have access to it later on, because you're gonna wanna go back and go through some of the exercises. This is designed, this isn't teaching. It's teaching, exercise, mastermind. Okay, so the way I've got every module set up. So the first module is mind control. The second module is marketing. The third module is time. Fourth module is persuasion. Then it's live streaming. Then it's social media. Each of those modules, I have teaching, then a little exercise to do, and then we're going to work together as a little mastermind to get some coaching done, and then we're going to go back into the next session. And I got at least one guest coming in. It's going to be awesome. Okay, this is the website, edrush.com/2021. Use code. Let me just share this real quick. Here you go. This is the page you'll go to when you type in edrush.com/2021, and look at this. Watch this. You type in, you can pay $297 if you want to, but if you type in 2021 and hit apply, it changes that to $197. See that? Okay, so use the coupon code 2021. And Brian Jones, I just saw your order come through too. So you, sir, are in. All right. Thank you to Lisa. The recording indeed will be available. What's up, Miriam? Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. Thank you, Bruce. Good to see you, my friend. I thought I was on your Facebook page the other day, actually, buddy. Cool. All right, so for those of you who just joined us, this is your 2020 year in review. I started by sharing the first point, which is 2020 was the year that truth went on vacation. The second point, we learned that the message matters more than the method. I'm going to move into my third and last point. But before I do that, I got to say hello to my amazingly good friend, Marquetta Breslin's in the house. One of my favorite people in the whole world, all right? So, like, if you haven't taken her social media training, you need to. Tony, I've got a training that I'm doing next January, next Wednesday, January 6th. I'm doing a one-day, full-day event called the 2021 Accelerator, and I'm doing a fast start session here in like 10 minutes. That's the link that my team just put into chat, which is edrush.com/2021, and the discount code is 2021. Thank you, Delisa. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. All right, so let's rock into our last point, and then we're going to wrap up today's show. And by the way, no show on Thursday. Have a good time. New Year's Eve. Go put a little hat on and, okay, sing Old Lang Syne, even though you don't know the words. And then get ready to dial it in, because when 2021 starts on Friday morning, you're going to need to get focused, because this year is going to be a big, big, big year. Okay, I don't have time to go into all this. 2021 is going to be bumpy. It's going to be a very bumpy year. Okay, it started with what I said in the beginning. All that trust that eroded in government, in news, in science. People don't know what to do right now, okay? Vaccine, you're going to see 3 battlefields that are the same battle, okay? You're going to see the people versus the government. And I put the people up here, by the way, for a reason. The people versus the government. Remember, we have a government that is of, for, and by the people, right? So they work for us, not the other way around. I know it feels like we work for them, okay? But it's going to be, this year will be of 3 battles. People versus the government, people versus the media, people versus science, fake science. Remember, I said the difference between, I'm not blaming science. I jokingly earlier in the show said I would trust science if science wouldn't stop changing its mind, okay? It would stop changing its mind, okay? I don't know why I thought that was so funny. So those 3 battlefields will rage in 2021, past 2021. I don't have time to go into the prediction on that. What I will tell you is that will create bumpiness in the road. The bumpiness in the road could be a major problem if you let it become a major problem, but it could be a major opportunity if you let it. And the reason why it's a major opportunity is because right now people are paying attention. So if you've been like, I want to write a book. Like I've always wanted to write. This is the time to write the book, okay? It wouldn't have worked 2 or 3 years ago, but now people are paying attention, okay? If you're like, I'm going to start a show, I'm going to start doing a broadcast like you do, Ed, 2 times a week, or even 1 time a week, now's the time to do it, because people are paying attention. If you're like, I'm going to dial in my social media, now's the time to do it. If you want to start a consulting business, now's the time to do it. If you want to start speaking, it feels like now's the worst time to do it, but now's the best time to do it, because now you can refine your message and grow your audience so that you grow it based on something that you have. Now is the time to do it. So have fun, do whatever you want on New Year's Eve, but when you wake up on January 1st, with whatever you're feeling that morning, okay? I'm going to be feeling great When I wake up on January 1st, man, I'm moving into this new year because this is going to be an amazing year for you, right? You should have 1 million people following you by the end of this year. Whoa, man, the water almost went down. Whoop, I should probably get some of this then. Third thing, and then I'm going to wrap it up. In 2020, we discovered that effective sales strategies work, even if you're not in person. This was the single biggest change in business, not Zoom. Zoom is a method, okay? The biggest change, look, people bought cars this year without actually seeing the car, physically seeing the car. People bought homes this year without physically seeing the home. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine me predicting last year at this time, by the end of the year, people are going to buy homes sight unseen. They took a virtual tour. They had a drone fly over the house. They put their down payment down, had the home inspector go over. That's how cataclysmically this year changed. Like I said, I had over 300 financial advisors on a Zoom 2 weeks ago. Most of their business now is over Zoom. Okay? What that means for you, by the way, is that now's the time to create a little studio for yourself at home. You can do it for $200 or less if you want to. And I'm going to give you on January 6th, I'm going to give you all of my recommendations, good, better, best. Okay? The good studio that I recommend is about $190. You can do it for less than $200. A great studio, you can get in for a few thousand. Okay? So wherever you're at, whatever level you want to go at, if you want to know what I did, I started with the 201 and I built up to the expensive one. Okay? A few $1,000s. But I didn't do that kind of like willy-nilly. I did it purposefully, setting into motion my plan as I went. I'm going to be sharing that. By the way, on January 6th, part of that training, about 30 minutes of the training, I'm going to be walking you through building a beautiful studio. And if you're in that, I know I keep talking about it. I keep talking about it because it's going to be awesome. Okay? It's edrush.com/2021. The coupon code is 2021. And we're doing a fast start session that starts in about 6 minutes. So I'm going to, as soon as I shut the show down, which is going to happen in like 3-4 minutes, I'm going to jump over there on Zoom. We're going to put that show on the road. Sales strategies are effective no matter the medium. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you want to get better at getting people to say yes, now's the time to do that. Because you know what? It's changed. Sales strategies work, but because the method is a little bit different, the sales strategies are a little bit different. For example, most of my coaching members right now are signing up via Zoom. I'm having a conversation with them and they end up coming into my coaching since we ended up working together on Zoom. It used to be that I could talk for about half an hour to somebody one-on-one at an event, or 15 minutes even at an event, and they'd sign up for coaching. Now it takes 2 or 3 calls. On Zoom, it takes a little bit longer, but the strategies still work despite the method. Okay? So I'm going to jump back to my main camera and begin to wrap it up. All right? For those of you who are coming on to the Fast Start training, that's going to start here in just a few minutes. I'm going to start with an exercise that's going to blow your mind when you do it. And I'm going to give you today, but I'm going to give you a few days to really kind of dial this exercise in. It's going to really help you. For those of you who want to sign up, that's right there. I'm going to jump into chat real quick and answer a couple questions, and then we are going to wrap it up. Hey, that's cool. Terry said, I'm a publisher, can help you all write and get your book published. By the way, I'm doing a mentoring program, and we are going to start that in January, by the way. And I'm going to stop talking about getting my book done. I've written 5 books. Every one of those books, man, I talk about it for a while, and then I finally do it, and January is when I'm finally going to do it, all right? You guys are in, Brian and Diana. People versus government, fake news versus science. Oh, and people versus news. People versus news goes like this. Everybody stop reading it. So this year, the numbers of people watching, not just CNN, Fox just imploded in November. The number of people watching news or consuming news has just completely disintegrated. And what's happening is there's all these little alternate news sites that people, the original fake news started by talking about those sites. So yeah, it's people versus government, people versus news, and people versus science, or fake science versus science. I'll have that next week, Brian. Man, my man is on it. All right, so if you want to jump in, yes. Thank you, Tony. This is such a great comment. Today, we talked about 2020, the year that truth went on vacation. Number 2, in 2020, we learned that message matters more than the method. Number 3, 2020, we discovered that effective sales strategies work, even if you're not in person. This, ladies and gentlemen, was your 2020 year in review. Take some time off this weekend. Sing All That Anxiety, even though you don't know the words. Put a big smile on your face, because 2021 is going to be a really, really big year for you. I'm going to jump on to our fast start for those of you who are joining me. The website is below. If you want to sign up, you do have time. You got like 4 minutes until we're going to launch this fast start training. So now is the time for you. And even if you don't, listen, this is going to be an awesome, awesome year. I already said it's going to be a lot of bumps in the road, okay? I didn't even talk about the economy. That's going to be bumpy too, okay? But if you go to 2025 in your mind right now, I want you to go ahead 4 years. Like, go ahead to January 1st, 2025. You know, waking up after the new year, 4 years from now. I want you to imagine yourself waking up with a big smile on your face, because you finally got your message out there to the world. You finally got the kind of income that you want coming in. You've created enough resources that you got money put away in all different kinds of places. You've got financial security. And while the world may have been a little bit bumpy, you created a sense of security and freedom because you took action this year. Listen, this is the year. 2021, you can be a victim or you can be a victor. You can be a critic, okay, or you can be a creator. It's your choice what happens to you this year. You're in control. You can be at the end of the whip, or you can be the one, I don't know, that's a wrong analogy. Everything was going great until that whip thing. You can be the one getting shouted orders to, or you can be the one in charge, okay? And look, the world needs good people like you to step up this year, okay? The world needs good people like you to step up this year, all right? So, yeah, Terry, so no, if you're already enrolled in the event on January 6th, you get the fast start for free. Yeah, no worries. And if you have any questions, email to Lisa. Just email support@edrush.com. She'll answer everything you need. All right, so that's it for today. I'll see you over in the Fast Start training. For those of you who are joining me on the 2021 Accelerator, this is your year, all right? EdTalks Live is...